Right, I'm really just recording it anyway, yes, but we'll run through all of the usual side of things. So yeah, just initially with the housekeeping, you know where all the exits and everything are, and the bathrooms. Good, and the meeting assembly point for the when the fire alarm goes off is?
No car park.
It's on the front lawn, like the front lawn. Yeah. Good. And obviously put a door right there, so it's handy. And I gave you a copy of the program handbook when we had our Moodle login session. That was the green one, so hopefully you've had a chance to look through that. But there's all the program information and the contact details and rules and regulations and that. Did we talk about you're reasonably familiar with the services that we've got here with the student support, library, computer suite?
Yeah.
Great, okay. And I'll just get you a heads up and let you know, I'll send out an email with a marketing survey that would be great if you could take a few minutes to fill that in for us. It's just online, but it's just about finding out where students found out about courses and things like that. So it helps us to use our marketing money in the best way possible. So I'll send that out this week sometime. Okay, so this course that we're doing here is the Management 209, Human Resource Management. Now, did you do the HR paper as part of NZIM? I don't think you did.
No, I'm sorry, papers of the first semester were applied management, business education and accounting principles. The second semester was commercial law, leadership and organisations
and management. So I don't think you did HR management.
I think that was when we did the management paper. That was one of the styles of management we looked at.
We did talk a little, like there will be overlap from what you did in organisations and management, especially when we talk about motivation and things like that. But yeah, this paper is designed to be sort of a second level HR paper. And Ian, I think you're in the same boat that you haven't done the lower level HR paper. So we've got me and Zane here, basically. Ian, hi. So yeah, it's just a small group, but we'll just get going on what we have to cover for today, which is not a huge amount. It's just an introduction to the topic. But I just wanted to, I suppose, flag that there might be some concepts and ideas that we come across that we would have covered in an introductory HR paper, basically. So if there are things that we start talking about in this paper and you don't know what they are, just let me know so that we can answer those questions. Basically, the textbook there is the same textbook as what I was using with the other paper. And it is a really good introduction. It's not too complex. Basically, it's relatively straightforward and easy reading. So that's your Human Resource Management in New Zealand by Richard Rudman. Okay. And we won't need all of the chapters from in there. We don't need to just dig in and read everything. If you refer to the schedule that I've given you here, this one. That's the one. So with that, we can basically see the outline of what we need to cover each week, what topics we're going to be talking about, and what chapters you're going to need to read, with what the class is, so today 1 to 2 p.m, and what activities you need to do or assessments. So there's the course forum, which is basically posting onto the Moodle forum. And some of those are assessed and some of those are not assessed. Okay. So making sure, I guess, when it comes to the assessments, assessed ones, that you particularly make sure you do those. The course forum's only worth 15% of your overall mark. But that's 15% that's relatively easy to get if you just chip away at answering those weekly sort of forums. Okay. It's not working, it's using any new batteries. Yeah, so that gives you a bit of an overview. We're going to focus a lot on strategic HR management initially and performance management, but there's also quite a lot of leadership built into this particular paper. So that might be a bit of an overlapping area from where you've done the leadership papers, Amy. So hopefully that's relatively straightforward for you. This one, yeah, we're level 6, so we're equivalent to second year universities. Okay. Any questions? Did Ian give you a overall assessment calendar?
That
one, yeah. I've got one there. So that basically is just to help you plan between, because especially if you're doing all 4 papers, Zane, there's going to be times when you've got lots of things due all at the same time. Usually around the end of June when the course finishes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just about thinking about your time management and what you need to do to keep on top of it. And I know you're really good at getting your assessments in on time, so that's fantastic. But it is, you know, for some it can be challenging to keep on top of that workload. And I would really recommend chipping away at your assignments rather than leaving them to the last minute. But yeah, I know everyone's got their own style when it comes to that. It's quite interesting. So, in regards to the assessment, we are looking at 3 assessments plus the course forum. So we've got a case study and 2 essays, and the course forum that weekly sort of post. Okay, it's not going to work. Oh, it was over here. I didn't get the batteries. Right. That's alright. So, do you want to tell me, like, what do you already know about HR management? What do you think of it as involved?
basically, so management's just looking after what needs of people, and so how comfortable people feel at work.
Yeah, how comfortable people feel at work, yeah. So it's definitely about the people side of work. What sort of functions do you think HR staff might perform?
They do stuff like sort of performance appraisals.
Yeah.
They do a lot of the hiring. And
Yeah.
something like, yeah. So I think when I got the job down at Western Milk Products initially, I had to go through HR there.
Yeah.
I think they were the ones that handled the redundancy side of things as
Yes,
well.
they are, yes. So yeah, HR management is generally thought of as sort of looking at how can we utilise human resources to achieve the organisation's business objectives, but also individual employee needs. So the challenge there for HR is that primarily you're employed by and acting for the organisation to ensure that they've got the right staff in the right place at the right time, doing the right things. But then they also have a role as sort of employee advocate where they, staff go to HR to get their needs met, to make sure they've got the right contracts, the right pay scale, they're supported to get the annual leave and entitlements and those sorts of things. So there's a sort of a bit of a dichotomy there between those two sort of roles. I mean, HR management has really evolved hugely over time. When you look at where it's come from, it really did start off with the industrial sort of revolution. Because if you think about it, initially people worked in small farm, cottage-based industries, and then as soon as we moved into a factory setting, all of a sudden we needed to be able to manage large groups of people somehow. And all of a sudden you had to have that administration around how do we pay all these people, how do we look after all of these people. So initially it really was quite an administrative sort of aspect, and it came about with the industrial relations movement. They started to also look at the welfare of people. You know, so they were like, hey, people can't work in these poor conditions where they're crowded, where they've got lots of, lots of long working hours, poor conditions, poor food, those, and we've got young people and women working, and so we started to look at what's the well-being of these people, and how can we look after the well-being of them. So initially we sort of looked at the welfare officer. It was about looking out for and helping those staff to actually meet their needs, and identifying that if their needs were met, then they were actually more productive in the workplace. And the title and the role of sort of the HR has changed over time. You might remember when it was called personnel management. Maybe no, but before your time possibly, or labour manager. But yeah, when it has shifted significantly. So personnel management was really those administrative tasks of hiring and firing and keeping on top of pay and leave and so forth. What's tended to happen over the last 5 to 10 years is that it's really evolved, even from human resource management, which we're still calling it human resource management in a lot of organisations. But if you look around, a lot of organisations are actually calling it something else. So human capital, HR business partner, people and capabilities officer. You can come up with all sorts of fancy titles for it. Why do you think the name might be changing?
Because, like I said, the HR management itself is always changing.
It's always changing, yeah. And we are moving away from just being a primarily administrative function to actually identifying the strategic aspect of the HR role. Okay? And the fact that that is extremely important to achieving organisational objectives. This model was put out in 1997, but it still is relevant in that it shows how the role of HR is split between the operational and the strategic, and the people and the process. Okay. So the administrative expert, yep, they write the job descriptions, the person specifications, they write the interviews, make sure the interviews go, according to plan and meet legal requirements. They fulfill all those administrative tasks, which are extremely important. The employee champion, that's kind of what I mentioned before, the person who's there to speak for and represent and assist the employee to get their needs met. Yeah, so the employee champion is part of the role of the HR side of the organisation as well. And the change agent, now you mentioned that when you were made redundant, the change agent, HR has a vital role when it comes to managing change and when it comes to restructuring and so forth, or merging or whatever. And you're going to probably look at a lot of that also in the change management paper, I expect. Because, when you're talking significant change in an organisation, you're often talking about changing job roles, job titles, changing the people in those positions, changing the structure. Okay? And so HR are there to make sure that we do that legally and facilitate the organisation to do it in a way that really doesn't impact on the morale of staff significantly. We need to actually try and make that change happen smoothly so that the transition for people is good and they still feel this engagement and morale in that organisation. And that final part there, strategic partner, and that's really now where the focus is lying, is in how can HR actually facilitate the organisation to be better at achieving its organisational goals. What do you think how HR can contribute to that?
Research like how sort of effective processes and stuff are, how effective people are in any given role,
Yeah.
whether they could be better utilised somewhere else.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, so the strategic side of it certainly is, making sure they keep up to date with legislative and best practice HR practices, which are there designed to support and facilitate the organisation achieving objectives. And it is about linking what is this individual employee in the organisation doing with the departmental goals, with the organisational goals. Okay, so taking it from that high level, I remember when we talked about the organisation's mission, vision and values, and we talked about strategic planning in organisations and management. It being that high level, looking out to the future, 5 years' time, where does this organisation want to be? Okay, so that's what our senior managers are trying to envisage and make happen. So HR's role is therefore to provide policies and procedures within recruitment, selection, performance management, induction, training and development, health and safety, all of those areas that are going to facilitate the organisation to achieve those goals. Does that make sense? So we're concerned, when it comes to strategic HR management, we are looking at the ways in which HR management is critical to the firm's survival and success. Okay? So if you think about firms like KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, their strategic goal is to be elite in their global reach. They want to be the best of the best internationally. How are they going to achieve that? They're going to have to hire the best people with the best skills, the best education. And so their strategy is focused on really proactive recruitment with really high entry standards. So you have to have high levels of qualification and a high experience or references or plenty of evidence there to show that the candidate is of a high standard. They also aim to provide high discretion work, so it's challenging work, but people have a lot of autonomy in the role because that tends to attract those people who are high performers. Okay? High performers don't like to be, told, have somebody sitting over their shoulder telling them what to do all day. So they want people who are going to work well autonomously and but also enjoy being challenged in the role. They're going to pay well. And that's obviously going to mean if they're paying above market rates, then more people will apply, more people will want to work there, and they'll be able to pick the best of the best. If you look at organisations like Google and things, they have similar sort of strategies where they pay well, they provide amazing perks and incentives, and people don't want to leave. So that's their strategy. If we make this a great place to work, then people will retain the skill and the knowledge that we have. Because technology is one of those fast-changing industries, so stability of staff becomes quite important. They want partnership opportunities, so the opportunity to buy into the organisation. So if the organisation succeeds, they are financially rewarded. And they want professional education opportunities, so professional development, training, and ongoing support with that. So you can see there that their organisational strategy to be elite in their global reach actually filters down into their HR policies and practices. Okay, but these are the things we're going to do in order to achieve that goal. Okay. Have a look at the definitions of strategic HR management in your textbook, page 16. And just read, because there are lots of different definitions. Don't get me wrong, it's not one of those things that we can easily, distinctly define. definitions.
Pretty
Yeah. So in order to, become sort of strategic in HR management, it's all good and well to say that we will be strategic, but what do you think the organisation needs to do in order to become strategic?
But they need to have a plan. They need to know sort of where they're at, where they want to get to, then they need to work out, well, this is where we are, that's where we want to be, how are we going to get there, what do we need, who's the right person for the job, where, are they best employed?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely on the right track there. So they have to do a bit of analysis to start off with. That's a strategic analysis. What's our current position? And next week I think we'll talk a little bit about, we're just really doing a quick introduction this week. This is split into 2 sessions, but next week we go on to look a bit more at assessing the environment in terms of how that will impact on HR. Now I know with organisations and management you've done your PEST and your SWOT analysis, you've done your internal and external analysis of the organisation environment. That stuff becomes really relevant now for strategic planning for HR management, and you start to think of it in the context of HR management. So we start to think of how does the changing economy impact on staff availability and our recruitment practices.
So economy changes, generally people need more money, so they're going to look for a higher paying job.
Sometimes if the economy changes, it means organisations aren't going to be able to pay more, and so people sort of prepared to accept lower, and jobs become higher in demand. So we actually create a process of, and if you've done the economics paper, you start to talk about supply and demand of labour, basically. So we're talking there about the environmental things that are going to affect, recruitment and selection for the organisation. So analysing, so it's important to do this at the higher level of the organisation, so usually general manager, chief executive, director, whatever they're called, the higher level with perhaps a management team if the organisation is large enough to warrant such a thing. Management team should be looking at analysing the environment and how things that are happening in the environment could potentially affect the industry. So Westland Milk, for example, where you would think what sorts of things could have affected them?
All the decline in global milk price.
Decline in global milk price.
They sort of hired a ton of people around about the time that I started, and then they realised, we've got too many people, we have to leave.
So global milk prices go up, they go, great, we've got increase, we can sell more of this, we can produce more, we'll hire more staff to make that happen, and then prices go down, they're like, we can't actually afford to keep these people on. So that affects, an organisation needs to be actually quite mindful of what's happening. There's a lot happening in the tertiary education sector with the government talking about changing legislation around international students coming into the country, for example.
What they're introducing is like first year of tertiary education is free.
Okay, and that policy, so that would seem to be a great policy, but then institutions are worried that students are going to just enrol to get the free fees and sit there and get a student allowance, but not actually want to participate or finish the qualification. That's a concern for a lot of organisations.
If they just stay there for the first year and then bugger off after the year's finished,
exactly.
How are they going to make money?
Exactly, and because they get, you get performance managed on students completing qualifications, not just on them doing the first year and then disappearing. So that organisations should be looking at government, political, those economic changes and thinking, well, what does this mean for us? And what is it going to mean for us in terms of our staffing and so forth? So strategic analysis gives us information to make some strategic choices. So looking at possible courses of action assessing the options and choosing between them. You know, and this could be around things like the organisation choosing to close down or merge or transfer or restructure. You know, like some of that strategic choice can be big picture change, or some of it is smaller change in terms of HR policies and procedures, perhaps for recruitment and selection. When it comes to remuneration, for example, an organisation or pay has an opportunity to be a pay leader where they pay above market rates, to pay market rates, to pay what other organisations in the same industry are paying, or to pay below market rates and be a pay follower. Why would an organisation choose to be a pay follower?
Maybe because they can afford to hire more people, possibly.
Yeah. So they might be a pay follower because they can't afford to pay market rates. They might be a pay follower because they're thinking if we pay a little bit less than market rates, we can have more people doing the same thing, so we can afford more stuff. Any other reasons?
So if they pay less, they can still have other perks to the job.
Yeah. Pay less, we might be a pay follower, but bring in other incentives for people to stay that make it a good place to work that can offset that. Because basically the organisation is making a decision as to how they want to place themselves in terms of desirability for people in the labour market to want to work there. If you're a pay leader, everyone wants to work there. Paying market rates, that's fine. You'll probably get a reasonable number of applicants for the jobs that you're advertising. Being a paid follower is an interesting decision because basically, you know, why would people come to a job that's lower than market rates elsewhere than what they can get elsewhere? Okay, so you're potentially attracting a lower calibre of staff, but it could be based on geographical location or other factors that actually, there are other reasons, like you say, that might actually make that a desirable job. So you might not get paid, for example, as much as Auckland, but in Greymouth, the money goes a lot further because you don't have to pay $500 a week for it.
Yeah.
$1,000 a week, or whatever it is they pay up there, I don't know.
Shit, I still live at home and I just thought it doesn't cost me much, I just help out with groceries every now and then.
Yeah, perfect, love it. So there's a strategic choice in terms of the options that an organisation has. And then they have once they decide which choice they're going to make, then it's about implementing their strategy. So planning how they're going to put that strategy into effect, basically. So there is quite a lot of planning that should be going on behind the scenes when it comes to strategic HR management. And yeah, I think this is, you know, when you're talking about just HR management, a lot of people seem to think, well, HR management has a bit of bad reputation. A lot of people have had bad experiences with redundancy or, you know, pay disputes or whatever, and even internally within organisations, you know, there's always a conflict between HR and managers. Managers are like, well, HR should do that, it's an HR function, but actually HR's role is to devolve a lot of the functions to managers, to get managers to be more involved in recruitment, selection, performance management and so forth. It's not actually the HR people's job to do those things, it's the managers' jobs to do those things. But HR need to set up the policies and the practices and the framework and the training to make sure the managers know how to do it, okay, in a consistent way. And that's where that communication often breaks down between the parties. So people often assume that HR, you know, that they can get that bad reputation, but these days there is that real focus on HR being about building the capability, adding to the ability of the organisation to achieve its goals, and we have ways of sort of measuring the success of that as well, and saying, look, you know, we can actually show how effective HR is in contributing to organisational goals. We are not just a cost to the organisation. Because think about the cost of turnover, for example, when people leave. the organisation. Say you've just spent, thousands of dollars advertising, going through the recruitment selection process, you found the right person for the job, you've appointed them, and 2 months later they leave. Yeah.
That's funnily enough, that's actually how I got the job down at Western, because I'd applied for it the first time.
Yeah.
They hired someone else, and a couple of months later that person must have left, and they advertised the job again, so I applied and I got it.
Right, yeah, but why did that person leave? Why did that process not work?
I don't know, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if they even actually started doing the job, whether they sort of
Yeah.
pulled out at last minute.
Sometimes it's just a personal issue, a personal life event happens and something happens. But often, if somebody starts the job and they do a couple of months, what can happen is that they discover that they didn't have a very realistic perception of what the job actually involved from the beginning. Okay, so the job that they're required to do doesn't actually necessarily align with what their perception was when they went into the job. And that perception is usually created around how the job is advertised, what's in the job description, what's in the person's specification. Okay, so HR, it really has a crucial role in making sure those documents align with reality. Okay, and that aligning that with reality will help to create it's called a realistic job preview. And a realistic job preview will assist with, it won't fully prevent turnover, but it will assist with minimising turnover. Okay. And if we minimise turnover, we minimise costs to the organisation. Yeah, because we don't have to go through that whole process all over again. How long do you think it takes somebody to be fully up to speed in a new job?
Oh, it depends on the job, really.
It does depend on the job. There's quite a difference, probably, to the job you're doing at ESOL.
No, I actually finished up there this past week.
Oh, okay.
But you say
Quite a difference to that job and what you're doing at Western Milk?
So at Z, so in a week or so, I was like,
yeah, fine.
basically I'm doing but Western, because everything's changing almost every day, so it's just about up to speed on something, then changes or something changes.
Yeah, so at some organisations, some jobs are more complex with more variety and more technological requirements and so forth. But for the more complex jobs, it can take several months, up to 6 months, before somebody's fully confident in a new job. And so organisations are investing a lot of time and energy and training and effort into getting that person up to speed. And so that's another sort of hidden cost if that person leaves within a short time frame. So think about what are some of the examples of strategic HR responsibilities versus operational HR responsibilities. What do you think based on what we've talked about, what are some of the operational responsibilities?
Well, strategic ones that would be looking at the company's vision, help to develop the vision. Looking at what sort of job people would most be suited to doing, how they're coaching, doing what they're doing.
So the strategic, we're thinking there definitely with the focus on aligning to the mission and vision of the organisation, so developing policy and practices that will help the organisation to achieve the strategic goals.
And what people would be best suited in which position in order to achieve the vision. Yeah,
exactly. So, like for KPMG, if that's your goal is to be elite in a global market, then
what does KPMG do?
The financial accounting. But if you want to be elite in your global market, then developing policy and strategy around that in terms of your recruitment, your selection, your training and development, your performance management. And then what happens is that translates into the operational tasks that HR need to do. So, we need to we need to write these job descriptions so that they align with that goal. Yeah. Like think of organisations like Apple, where innovation and such is crucial, very crucial. Yeah. So how does that flow through into the job descriptions? Well, we write the job descriptions and the person specifications. I don't know if you know the difference between those two, do you?
Job descriptions or the personal descriptions are more description of what they're looking for, personality wise.
Yeah.
Because the job descriptions are what skills that person has, like you're good with.
Kind of, yeah. You're close. But the job description should just be sort of a list of the tasks or responsibilities that somebody has to do, and then the person specification should tell us what are the knowledge, the skills, the abilities, or attributes, the education, the experience level that somebody needs in order to be able to fulfill those tasks. Okay, so that's a key sort of distinction. And a lot of organisations don't get that distinction right at all. I've seen so many job descriptions where it's all, the person specification is intermingled with the job description.
So the job description saying, as part of this job, you will be responsible for this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And then the person description will be the ideal candidate will have the blah blah blah,
yeah,
all these
that's
skills.
Right. Exactly. So for a tutor at the Polytech, job description. Okay, you have to develop course material, you have to teach classes, you have to mark assessments, you have to participate in other administrative functions and so forth. So, you've got those tasks that need to be done. What are the skills or the education that you need to be able to do those things? Well, the general rule is you need to have a qualification at least one level higher than what you're teaching. You don't have to have teaching experience, but you do, usually have to have some industry experience, So, some higher level positions you might have to have teaching experience. So you could say, oh, well, we need good presentation skills, or attention to detail when you're marking is important. Those sorts of things are the skills or attributes of the individual that they need in order to be able to achieve the tasks that are set out. So what an organisation, like Apple might do, if innovation is crucial to their organisation, is embed within their person specifications requirements for for people to be innovative or creative or entrepreneurial or whatever, so that they actually are selecting people who have those necessary creative attributes to take the organisation towards its strategic goal. Make sense? Yeah, so you start to embed those things within, so you need to know exactly what the job requires, but you're also thinking higher level in terms of what does the organisation require. Any questions? So when we're talking operational HR, we are really thinking about those key functions that are outlined somewhere in here. Page 6. Actually, that covers some strategy in there as well. For example, it talks about reward strategies, policies and programs. But a lot of, those are the sorts of functions that HR are heavily involved in. It's recruitment, selection, induction, training and development, performance management, rewarding, pay, remuneration, employment relations and the legal side of things, but also what I haven't got in there, I don't think, is health and safety. They do, there we go, under managing people performance, they've got it in there, health and safety, employee wellbeing. Larger organisations will often have a separate health and safety manager, which may or may not be part of HR, because we have such an emphasis on HR with our legislation. So it is important that there's that role there within the organisation. But, if you think it back to where HR has evolved from, it's evolved from looking out for employee wellbeing. So health and safety is a big part of that. So often health and safety fits within the HR function or team. And I mean, it's interesting, you know, New Zealand is something like, I don't know, something like 90% small businesses. Small businesses don't tend to have an HR person. You know, they don't have an HR manager necessarily. What happens is the general manager or the business owner or whoever it is, they need to fulfill all of the functions of HR. And that becomes their role. And that's fine when you're employing a couple of people. That's not a big deal. But I can't remember the exact ratio, I'll dig it out next week. But there is a sort of a ratio that did some research around, you know, how many HR people per staff is normal within New Zealand organisations. Something like 1.2 or 1.3 per 100 staff or something like that. And yeah, so what that HR, but then the larger the organisation gets, the more HR people you'll have on board. So you have an HR manager, or you'll have a people and capability manager, or a director of business partnership or whatever. You'll have that high level, and then within the team you might have somebody looking after pay, somebody who looks after training and development, somebody who looks after health and safety, somebody who specifically looks after the employee relations.
I know down at West they had health and safety was a separate department.
It's a whole separate department, yeah.
HR was another department.
It's a real payoff for organisations because investing in more HR staff is not investing, it doesn't seem to be investing in the core function of the business. It's not like here at the Polytech, like you get another tutor, the tutor can teach students bring in the funding, right? If you bring in another HR person, that doesn't bring us any more funding. So HR need to start to sort of justify the existence in terms of the cost benefit to the organisation of having more HR people on board. And the way we can do that is by showing the connection between the policies and practices and things that we put in place within HR to achieving the organisation's strategic goals and the bottom line, you know, for the organisation. So there's quite a lot to start thinking about for this week. You know, we're just really just starting to dip our toe in the water, and there's a lot more to come. But for this week, if you haven't done so already, join Moodle and enroll on the course. And I know you've done that, Zane. But Ian, you need to do that. Read the material online. Have you had a look at that?
Oh, I've had a glance or something.
Yeah.
I'll read.
So read through it properly. Yeah. Tell me if you don't like Moodle's a bit new to Ian and I, and the courses might be set up a little bit differently. Tell us which ones you like. Tell us how you like the layout, and we can start to modify accordingly. Okay. Open to feedback. And then also chapters 1 to 3 of the textbook. Okay. So they're quite short chapters, so it seems like a lot, but it's not too much. There's also a couple of PDF readings on Moodle, like readings 1 and 2. So have a look at those and have a think about them. Feel free to write any questions or reflections onto the course forum. The course forum is going to be just really, what happens with the course forum is when you post on there, you get, or when somebody else posts on there, you get an email, okay? So it will come to you as an email so that you know whether or not you need to reply. So just make sure you're keeping up to date with your emails, you'll be fine. There's a course forum post that I've already done, so if you haven't done already, go and reply to that one. And then read the readings and see if you've got any other questions that come out from those. Okay. So yeah, like Ian probably said yesterday, there's a lot of expectation for this level that you're doing a lot of independent reading, and I know that's challenging. So if you are struggling, just come and let us know. Just make sure you keep on top of it. Yeah. All right. Any questions? Ian, any questions? He probably won't even watch it. Anyway, so that gives us a bit of a start, and we'll see you next week. And next week we're going to talk more about HR planning. So we'll dig in a bit deeper into that whole process. Okay?
Sounds good.
Very good. All right. Thanks for coming in, Zane.
No problem. I won't see you on Thursday.
No, it's going to be Ian doing the other two papers anyway. So
Okay.
yeah, lovely. See ya.